Anyway, he goes, remember the song Turn Up the Radio? And I go, yeah. And he goes, that was me. I wrote that song. And I go, what? Wait, whoa, what? You? Wait, hold on. Who are you? Hey there, Robert John Hadfield from Audiomover here again to talk about some vinyl. And the one I've got in front of me today, I actually have a personal story related to this. Some of you know, long time ago in the 90s, I was a professional musician and I played around different places, and every once in a while we would get booked up in Pocatello, Idaho, of all places. There was a place that we would go up and play there, and we'd go up there for a few nights, and then anyway, so it was one night after we played, we got invited to somebody's house to go to a party. And, with nothing else to do, we would sometimes go and hang out with people. And so one night, I'm at this little party at somebody's house, and there's this dude there with this long hair and just kind of real outgoing, friendly guy. And I don't know how, but he and I just started chatting, and we started talking about music a little bit because, of course, I'm a musician and I just played a gig here in town. And so as we're talking, he tells me, he introduces himself as Steve Isham. And I didn't have any idea what this was. But as the conversation went on, it turns out he's the keyboardist for the band Autograph. And I had no idea. I'm sitting here talking to this guy, and he as he's telling, he's talking about being a musician. Of course, I'm asking him like, well, tell me. Anyway, he goes, remember the song Turn Up the Radio? And I go, yeah. And he goes, that was me. I wrote that song. And I go, what? Wait, whoa, what? You? Wait, hold on. Who are you? And then he starts explaining to me that he's Steve Isham from the band Autograph. And oh, wow. Well, and of course I'm thinking, well, I never bought the record. I have the single back in my my house back in Salt Lake is where I was living at the time. Anyway, it wasn't, we didn't become buddies or anything. It was just kind of a strange thing to run into this guy in Pocatello, Idaho. Turns out that's where he's from. So anyway, Steve Isham. So this song, if you were living and breathing in the 1980s, conscious at all, you heard this song, So he had written, Steve Isham, I don't know if he wrote the song or if he just partly wrote it or whatever, but I mean, this was a big deal back in the 80s. This song was so huge. And this for me, is what I often refer to as a novelty song. It's a song that it's not a lot of deep anything to it. It's kind of written to fulfill a little novelty need out in the world. And turn up the radio, it's just one of those phrases everybody says. And you can imagine if it's even a halfway decent song, some radio station's going to put it on and play it, and it's going to be this little anthem. And so, and that's kind of what it became. Matter of fact, the local radio station in Denver, Colorado, KBPI, during the chorus that says, turn up the radio, I need the music, wanna give me some more. Well, what they did is they replaced I need the music with the words KBPI. Turn up the radio, KBPI, give me some more. Exactly what you would have expected from something like this. So this was on an album that was called, I'll flip it over here, that was called Sign In Please. And the song was a huge hit. The album itself ended up selling, went gold. I think it sold about 500,000 copies. And they actually put albums out after this one. There were two other albums. There was another one called That's the Stuff, and another one called Loud and Clear. And That's the Stuff had a song called Blondes in Black Cars on it, which was, it got I think people tried to like it and tried to play it. I bought the single. I have it somewhere back in the collection. And so, but this was, once again, it was such a big deal. The song got so huge, and the music video was really, really big. And the thing that kind of surprises me really about it was that there was some guitar player magazine that gave this solo, the guitar solo for this song became like solo of the year, which is like, what? Well, if you go back and listen to it, this Steve Lynch, who is the guitar player, if you're familiar with finger tapping, he kind of perfected that skill. you go back to Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen's the guy that maybe really made that technique really popular. It's the kind of thing where you see on one hand doing this, and then the other finger comes in and starts playing on the fretboard. Well, he would get all 8 fingers involved, and he created this whole technique around it. And of course they did that in the 80s. I mean, everybody started, how can I make this bigger and faster and flashier? And Steve Lynch, that's kind of what he did. And he's been teaching that technique for ever since. And anyway, to me, when I listen to that solo, what I hear is just a bunch of finger exercises. There's nothing super inspiring about it, but it is kind of cool. You know, he's got all these little exercises that he does in there. But if you were trying to learn guitar technique, that would be a great solo to learn, because he does all these different finger exercises. That's what it sounds like to me, finger exercises. But so this band, so what happened then after this? So they put out another album. Like I said, they put out 2 more albums after this, and then they just kind of went away. And I think most of us probably expected that, because I don't know that there was a lot there. They just had this one really big hit song. But what's fascinating about this is the singer, Steve Plunkett. You know, where do these people go? Well, Steve Plunkett went off afterwards, and he started writing songs for TV shows. And if you're familiar with the TV show Seventh Heaven, I never really watched it, but I remember the theme song. He wrote that song, Seventh Heaven. You remember that? I don't know if you ever heard that song, but he wrote that. And I think if you listen to it, he's the guy singing it, I'm pretty sure. the theme song for Seventh Heaven. Now you think, well, this former semi-rock star, isn't that kind of a step backwards? Let me tell you something. No, it's not. Now, as I mentioned before, and some of you know, I was a professional musician a long time ago. I actually had some songs in some movies back in the 90s. And these were not big movies, okay? They were, one of them was played on right after the Super Bowl in 1995 on TV, so it, you know, got some attention. I had another one that Gregory Hines was in, that it was just a song that I wrote that was just in the background of one of the scenes. The song that I had the song that was on after the Super Bowl got played over and over and over in the United States, then it went overseas, then it started getting played in all these other countries. I got royalty checks on that stupid song for well over a decade, just because I had a song in a movie. Stopped thinking about it. I hadn't thought about it in years, and I kept getting checks. Now, they weren't huge, but I was getting money off of a song that I got in a TV show that was kind of an afterthought. You get a song on a hit show like Seventh Heaven, and it's a featured song, a theme song. That guy is I guarantee you, he is killing it, because that wasn't the only song he had, show he had songs in. He had lots of songs in lots of movies over the years and TV shows, and when those songs, every single time that thing gets played in this country, in another country, that stuff gets registered, and there's money that passes hands, and he gets paid for it. So when you realize how publishing works in the music industry, it's amazing how much money you can make. So Steve Plunkett, he took a step forward in the music business, because he went and he got involved in songwriting and publishing, and I guarantee you that guy is killing it financially just from doing that. So anyway, you know, you think of that, it wasn't a step backwards. This guy was rocking it. And then Steve Isham, you know, the guy I was talking about that I met, he ended up going and touring with Vince Neil for a while in the early 90s. Didn't do a lot of other stuff noteworthy, but he passed away back, it's been like 15 years ago now. And, you know, where Steve Lynch has gone on and he's continued to play, and I think he put Autograph back together for a while, and then he's put all these, like I said, all these training videos out on his guitar technique. Anyway, so he's still around, and he's a guitar teacher. But then the other 2 guys in the band, the bassist and drummer, both died within the last few years. There's only 2 guys from the original band that are actually even still alive. So anyway, it was an interesting time, the 80s. And a novelty song like this, it just, you know, with MTV and the way things were back then, this was just going to get big. And still, this song, Turn Up the Radio, it's still around. I mean, it was featured, I think they had it in Miami Vice back at the time for one of the shows, but I mean, it's been in a bunch of video games now. And so these guys are making money on all this stuff too. So this song, you get that one hit wonder, that one song, and if that thing just gets resurrected and brought back, you know, where it can be something that then pays bills and makes money for a long, long time. And it may be a silly song and a novelty song, like I said, but these things, if you do it right, they can stick around and they can actually make a living, you know, or maybe not a lot of money, but actually bring in money for these people that wrote this song many, many years ago. It keeps coming back in video games, like I said, and other things, and it's kind of amazing. So even though it was a one-hit wonder, there was a lot of great stuff for these guys that came out of it. Anyway, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Right this second, please click the like button if you sat through that whole thing. And then, of course, follow this channel, whatever platform you're watching this on right now. And if you really want to support us, go to audiomover.com and start an order there. We convert old audio and videotapes to digital. Or tell people about us, that we exist. Get on your Facebook page and your social media and say, hey, there's this company that does these analog to digital media conversions called Audiomover. And they're pretty cool. They put these videos out, and it'd be great to support them. Anyway, with that, have a fantastic day.